Hello and welcome to the Storytelling for the Soul podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Kanata, and this is the place we talk about all things expressive writing and other creative techniques, all with a little bit of Buffy the Vampire Slayer thrown in. Buckle up and enjoy. Hello and welcome back to another podcast. Whenever you are listening to this, I hope this episode finds you well. Now, apologies for the clickbait. However, I know that the women that I tend to appeal to and who tend to gravitate towards me are usually highly ambitious, perfectionistic type people, quite similar to myself, 35 plus. They are juggling multiple things in life, and let's be honest, we are our own harshest critics. So if you've lived long enough, today's title probably resonates with you because at some point you have experienced failure. Now, I no longer use the term failure. I prefer to use learnings, lessons, those kind of words, because language actually is important. And what we tell ourselves over and over again does stick. However, I've gone with failure because I know that the people that tend to gravitate towards this kind of work would deem anything that didn't go to plan as a failure. First up, what I want to do is reality check what you are calling failure. Is anything truly ever a failure? No. Because as far as I'm concerned, the story isn't finished yet. If you think of a book, you could be on chapter 2 of a 24 chapter book. So saying that you failed actually simply isn't correct. To me, in my life, the way that I've reframed my relationship with things that didn't go to plan, and often I might say they didn't go to plan for good reason, and in hindsight I can definitely see that. In the moment, of course, I'm caught up in the emotions, the disappointment, the grief. That's all normal. Please give yourself time to feel whatever you need to feel, to process what's happened, and after a little while, you will start seeing the next best possible step for you. And guess what? Nothing, and I mean nothing, is ever wasted in life. Everything is an experience. Everything is adding to your story. But from where I come from, and I'll use my business here because I think it's the most relatable lesson. And trust me, there have been multiple failures in my business. 2025 is actually my 10th year in business. Not my 10th year in Storytelling for the Soul. This is my 3rd year in this business. But I previously had a communications/PR business when I first started out in business, which actually did quite well. I'm going to be honest with you. The problem was I didn't enjoy that work, particularly the public relations side of it. Because anyone who's ever worked in public relations understands the stress and the pressure and the fact that clients don't typically understand how PR and relationship building and relationship management works, which I totally get, which is why they would bring in someone like me, because I'm an expert in that field. However, things take time and people want instant gratification. And in the media space, small brands expect to be getting lots of media coverage within the first couple of months. And all they see is the amount of money that they're outputting, and they don't see it as an investment. So that particular business, while ultimately quite profitable and a pretty good start to my business career, was never going to be sustainable for me because I felt like I just had another job without all of the usual things that you get in a standard job, like leave, sick leave, superannuation, all that kind of stuff. So that business was quickly done and dusted. My second business, This Woman Can, well, it started off pretty positively and that inevitably failed because I gutted the business of its soul by trying to monetize it. That said, I also realized that I outgrew the business over time, and I started to see women in the world in a different light. So that doesn't mean that I'm not pro-feminism. I am female at the end of the day. I very much believe in women, in women's rights, but I just didn't want to spend 24/7 focusing on that angle. Ultimately, I made some poor decisions as well in terms of business coaching, which very quickly drained the funds, and I decided to close that business. I believe it was after 3 or 4 years, something like that. But I took one super important element with me from that business. And that has definitely fed into what I'm doing today with Storytelling for the Soul. And that is the power of storytelling and the storytelling component. That has been the one tangible thing that has definitely never changed over the course of my career. Of course, it's evolved. It wasn't necessarily so strong in the first proper, I'm saying that in inverted quotes, my first proper job that I landed. But as I've progressed, as I've figured out really where I see myself and the kind of jobs and the roles that I enjoy doing, the kind of businesses I enjoy having a hand in, storytelling has been pivotal to everything that I've done. But going back to the point, in my books, the only possible way I can fail in business and Storytelling for the Soul, and let me tell you, I am, after 10 years, 3 years into this current business, I am 99.99999% sure that this is the right business. When you know, you know. So I can't see myself starting any other businesses in the near future. But in my books, the only way I could possibly fail with Storytelling for the Soul and what I'm doing now is to quit and to give up on what I'm doing. Not because there's anything wrong with quitting or walking away, especially if that's the right thing to do for you. I'm all for that. I'm not really a fan of wasting time. I feel like I'm very decisive, and once I've made up my mind about something, I can generally see the next best possible step, and I'm not afraid to make the decision, even if it's an unpopular decision, even if it's rather uncomfortable for me momentarily, which it often is. But for me, in this business, Storytelling for the Soul, which I believe in with every bone in my body, the only possible way I could fail is if I quit. If I decide that, you know what, it's easier without a business, which, trust me, it kind of is. It's really, really hard to run a business. If it wasn't, a lot more people would be doing it. It's even harder when you're juggling other responsibilities, like a full-time job. You might have kids. You might have elderly parents that you're caring for. There's so many different roles and scripts in life that could be your experience right now. But I truly believe whatever you are passionate about and whatever you believe in, the only way that you can fail is to quit. So if you're listening to this, if you're down on yourself because you feel like you're a failure, you've done things that have failed and you can never quite find a way that works, please stop. First of all, please never identify yourself with anything outside yourself. You are not anything. You are not a failure. You are not a bad person. Please become self-aware of how you are talking to yourself, because it does make a difference on a daily basis. Second point to this, I encourage you to listen to your intuition and your gut feelings. This has been the massive game changer for me. Towards the end of 2024, I want to say November, December, and throughout 2025 is listening to my intuition. I'm not saying to ignore people whose opinion you value and respect. I'm not saying not to get a business coach, not to get a mentor, not to listen to people, but ultimately you are living your life, you are walking in your shoes. When you get that gut feeling, when you know the next best possible step, please don't let other people skew your opinions or make you doubt what you know. And that's the best way. It's the word intuition, the words gut feel, we've all heard it. But when you get to a point where you have a knowing, please follow it. And that's been the biggest game changer. Like I said, towards the back end of 2024 and 2025 for me. I'm not saying I don't listen to people. I have invested in some coaching at the back end of last year with a sales expert. Definitely took on board everything that they shared with me. It was an incredibly valuable experience. I have many, many friends, some of my closest friends who are in business as well. Some of them have skills that of course are helpful to me. And while I always value their opinion, I'm not swayed by it anymore. I know exactly what I'm doing. And guess what? As soon as I stepped into myself, into my intuition, into my knowing, into believing beyond all doubt that this right here, right now is exactly where I'm meant to be, things have started clicking into place. I have long-term clients. I have lots of interest. I'm not so reluctant to share my story. It's all started happening. And yes, I still have doubts. Yes, I still have moments when I'm still working at 10 p.m. during the weekday when I think, is this all worth it? And you know what? It is all worth it because I believe in the power of writing, the power of storytelling. I believe in using body-based tools to improve our lives. And it's not just personal experience. I have seen it over and over again when working with clients. If they apply themselves, if they show up to the sessions, if they work with me, if they put their trust in the process, they very quickly see the tangible benefits. I'm going to leave it here for this week. Please, please, please never think that you are a failure. You can't possibly fail. Your story isn't over. There are so many more chapters, so many more pages, so many more words for you to write, but you have to believe in yourself. You have to be able to get out of your own way and create your way forward. Now, like I said, I do have long-term clients. I have a 3-month program called Soulful Steps, which is all about meeting where you are at. We typically assess where you're at in terms of your self-awareness, putting in place healthy boundaries, embodied living, creating the life of your dreams. And we work together for a solid 3 months. We primarily use writing and journaling in an embodied way. That's how my practices differ from standard journaling. So it means that as you're writing, it's not just a cerebral brain dump. You're actually feeling into the felt sense of your body as you write. And we work together in terms of helping you. If you're feeling overwhelmed, we have a practice called resourcing, which is basically finding an element of safety, comfort, support, opposite of overwhelm, which we can draw on in case you are triggered. And then we weave in other body-based approaches depending upon what suits you. Now, I only open 3 spaces at a time for this program because I know my limitations and my capacity, and I want to show up for every single person who opts to work with me and who invests in themselves as best as I can. So 2 places are gone at the time of recording. I only have 1 place left. So if you are in any way interested in Soulful Steps, it is 750 Australian dollars for the 3 months. You can pay up front. We can organize a payment plan, completely up to you. I have never wanted price to be a barrier for people who are willing to do the work. If you are in any way interested, I invite you to go to my website. You can find all the information there, sarahkanata.com. Sarah is spelt conventionally with a H, S-A-R-A-H. Kanata is C-A-N-N-A-T-A. Or you are also very welcome to reach out to me via email. It's just info@sarahkanata.com, all one word, same spelling as what I just gave you, and we can hop on to a Zoom call and let's see if we're a good fit and how I can best serve you. So until next week, I will see you, and I hope you've gotten some solid, valuable takeaways from today's episode.